Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin just by removing the mystery. I am not coming on here to announce any change to our model. We are, for the foreseeable future, remaining in our 50-50 model. My purpose here is just to bring you all up to speed on where we're at this time, and I just want to be as transparent as I possibly can with what our thought processes are. So I also want to make sure that everybody understands I'm not making these decisions in a vacuum. We're all working very hard with every relevant agency that we can find. We work with our mayor's office, we work with the health department, the governor's office, other local schools. A lot of people are working on this together. What the data shows me at this time, and for the last several weeks, this area has been the proverbial eye of the storm. It has been really relatively calm here, and COVID has been raging around us. Now, over the last several days, that's begun to change. It is starting to heat up here in our school system. So to bring you up to speed on our current data, and folks, you can always find us on our website, at the front page of our website, that blue section at the top. We keep these things updated, but our current case number is 9, which, yes, is very low compared to a lot of the surrounding communities. But let me take you through the history of that. So back to the beginning of the school year, I think it was we got our first case about 2 weeks after we started back in person, and then we had like a case a week there. So we had 3 cases, and then we had like no cases, 0, for a 3, almost 4-week period. And then over the last 7 days, we've increased that. We've doubled that. We now have 6 active cases that have occurred here in these last few days. So that's obviously an area of concern. So what does that mean for our model? Well, if you reflect back, obviously, to the spring and then the beginning of the school year, the recommendation from the health department was kind of duck and cover, stay home and such. That recommendation has now changed. The health department's actually telling me that our best interest is to stay in the 50-50 model, and the rationale for that is that they've observed statewide, districts going back in this 50-50 model, they're not seeing instances, or at least significant instances, of transmission within the school. So all those students might be getting it, staff members might be getting it. There's not evidence that they're spreading it to each other while they're at school. The spread typically is happening, as you heard our governor reference, it's happening in community settings. The birthday parties are always to blame, the sleepovers, those things. But anytime we have a case here locally, we carefully contact trace that with our health department. We quarantine anybody who's needed, but then we monitor very carefully, does anybody get sick? We've had no instances thus far of anybody transmitting to anybody else within our school system. So as a result of that, the health department is recommending that we stay in our 50-50. And folks, that's been our goal as a school district since we made that transition to 50-50 back early in the year. We wanted to give you options. Okay, we wanted to have the community with choice, because never in my career have I seen any issue that's been more polarizing than this. People were just at the opposite extremes of this. So we wanted to do our best to serve all of you in that if you don't feel comfortable being at school, we have a good option for you in our fully remote option. But if you want to have your students come to school, we can have them come to school in a reduced capacity. Let me address that reduced capacity, because I think it's maybe a bit of a misnomer. Obviously, we call it the 50-50 model. That doesn't mean 50% of the students are in school. Remember, there's a large portion, about a quarter of our students that are staying fully remote. So we're splitting the rest over a 2-day period. And then when you control for students that are absent and such, at any given time in our buildings, we're only at about a third of our capacity. So as a result, we're able to pretty consistently maintain that 6 feet of social distancing. So when we do our contact tracing, we're not having instances typically of students being within 6 feet of each other for a 15-minute period. That's not occurring. So they're recommending that we stay in this model. But I'm here to tell you there are serious threats to the 50-50 model. Obviously, listen, we could be shut down statewide. I don't necessarily foresee that, but certainly that's an option. The health department could at any time change their recommendation to me, and I'll tell you I'll immediately follow that recommendation. We will close down. It could be that we start to see transmissions in school. If we see that, we're going to have to be very, very careful with that. We're going to have to close down maybe certain areas of the school, or maybe the school completely. From my chair, I think the biggest threat to our 50-50 model is certainly manpower. Okay, our staff, ladies and gentlemen, under normal circumstances, I'd say if you see a staff member, hug them. Obviously not in COVID, but I encourage you, please, to say thank you to anybody that you know that works here. These people have been awesome. They've done a great job. Masks, done a great job at maintaining that safety protocol. I want to thank all of you for masks as well. That was my biggest stress over the summer. We're going to have issues with that. Zero issues. The kids have done great. The staff has done a great job keeping that, being vigilant around that, making sure that that happens. But with regard to our staff folks, they have been outstanding, just coming to work and wanting to be here working with your kids. So thank those folks. But manpower becomes the biggest issue because, you know, if they start to get sick or have to quarantine, et cetera, it doesn't take very many of them to be out before we don't have enough substitutes to come in and be able to effectively manage the students. So from my perspective, that's probably the scenario that most quickly could shut us down. So we're being very careful with that. We're trying to explore options. Transportation is certainly a concern with that. Thank you all for transporting your kids when possible. I ask you to please continue to do that when you're able to, if you're able to. We could make some adjustments to transportation before we close down. In theory, we could even stop portions of transportation, or we could do some rerouting things because our capacities are so low. It might change drop-off pickup times, but honestly, I'd rather go through those things than a complete shutdown. But just to kind of frame the problem for everybody, those are the things we're dealing with at this time. A big reason that I wanted to come on here too is if you reflect back to the beginning of the year, I made a promise to all of you. I will do my very best to give you as much advance notice as I can. But I also preface those comments by saying, you know, look, it kind of depends on which direction we're going. Back at the beginning of the year, we had the luxury of being patient with that because we're moving into something that was less restrictive. So I could say, hey, here's 2 weeks notice. When we're going the other direction, understand I'm going to have to do so much more rapidly. If it's deemed to be a safety issue, we're going to have to do so a lot more quickly. It could be a scenario by which that I'm telling you midweek that at the beginning of the next week, we're going to be fully remote. So this is me giving you some notice that, and again, I have no prediction on when this might occur. It may never occur, but I need everybody to be prepared for that because if we have to go, you know, that direction, we'll do so probably fairly quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, our governor spoke about the holidays that are upcoming. I am not going to preach to the choir. You have done an outstanding job throughout COVID. You have made great decisions. You have taken this seriously. I'm just going to ask that you continue that. Be especially careful because obviously, listen, holiday parties and such are a great opportunity to spread this virus, so please be careful. Lastly, I do want to request, I think we've done an excellent job with this, but just let me double down on this. If your child is sick, please keep them home. Please keep them home. Nobody in our system is going to, you know, fight you over that, argue over that. If your child is sick, please keep them home. That's how we keep each other safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have at this time, but I do want to encourage you, if you have any questions, comments, anything that you need, email us, call us, reach out to us. We're here for you. Everyone stay safe. Have a great holiday, and go Rangers.